Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Daniel Essick, and this is Podcast for Life. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Daniel Essick, and this is Podcast for Life. And I thank you all for being here today. And I want my camera back. Oh, okay. I have to unlock the seats. Okay, that's what they call it. Unlock seats to switch the camera. There we go. Okay. Now, hopefully this will work. Oh, come on now. Why is this being so slow? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I guess we're getting ready to probably so much for holding the room for me, Kathy. Um, no, we're not quite ready for the open lines yet, but ladies and gentlemen, I am sorry for these little quirks. And seems like Get Vocal doesn't quite have their act together yet all the way. Um, and definitely be letting them know um, after the podcast. Generally, every week I've been having to let them know how I've done on the podcast. And I think we've only had 1 or 2 weeks where I told them that they did a good job. So we still got a little bit of working left to do. And Kathy, are you wanting to be in that seat? Thank you. Um, all right, ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be talking about reassessing priorities. Now, in life, our priorities do change. Um, certain things become more important, while other things become less important. Things that we thought were important turn out to be not as important or life changing as other things. And then we have new things that come along that we feel are more important than what we're working on. So every once in a while, and I do it whenever I feel the need, is you have to sit down and think long and hard and just keep everything at peace and quiet and so that you can think. Um, sometimes you can have some soft music in the background, not too loud, but just so loud that you can hear your thoughts. You can do this. You sit and you think and you make a list. And if you need pencil and paper to make the list, go ahead and do that. Some people do that very well. If you need to do it on the computer, that's fine too. But what you're going to do is you're going to make a list. You're going to make a list of everything that is important to you that you want to do. And then you make another list of all the things that are important to you that others want you to do. And then when it takes some time, give it some good thought. If you're there, you're stuck for about 5, 10, 15 minutes, give it that much time. Give it 20 minutes. But when you're satisfied, that you have that list complete. And what you do is you want to study that list for at least 10, 15 minutes. That way you got a good idea of everything you want to work on. And then what you want to do is you want to pick out the most important things first, and then put that on a third list. Now, this third list is going to be your final list. This is going to be where you're reassessing your priorities. The most important thing is first. The next most important thing from both lists is next. Now, the reason that you made two lists in the first place is because you do want to separate the list from what you want to do and what others want you to do. And what you do is you write down those things down, be mindful of both lists. And what you want to do is realize that certain of your priorities are going to be what you want to do versus what somebody else wants you to do. And it will give you a lot of insight as to how much of a servant you are to others. It's always good to be a service to others. People always need help. People always need things to do. And the reason that you make two lists is so that you can learn how much you are a service to others and how much you are a service only to yourself. And then when you get through that list, now we're on the third list, so we can throw away the first two lists. Throw them in the trash can, fold them in half, throw them across the table, whatever. Just you're done with those. You take that third list and then you go over each of your priorities. Now, mind you, from the first two lists, you've listed everything that's on the first two lists. That's very important. And the thing is as you go down your list of priorities, you're also thinking, well, wait a minute now, this is more important than that is. That's okay. What you do is just draw your doodles, draw your arrows. Yep, this belongs over here, that belongs over there. You draw them up and then bring out another piece of paper and then just copy it over the way you want to do it. Then that's your final priorities list. Now, as you think about your schedule, and we'll talk about more in scheduling when we work on time management. But what do you think about your schedule? And you think about what you got to do each and every day. Now you have a list that you can refer to. This is the most important thing. What do I have to do today for each of these things? And then you just plan your day out. There's only 24 hours in the day. You're never going to get everything done. So what we do is we do the most important things first. Are there things that you have a deadline on? Are there things that need to be done by a certain time of day? If it is, does it need to be done today? How much is left to do? These are all considerations that you need to pay attention to. Now, I have sat down and gone through this process myself. Not only have I done it for myself, but I've also done it for my podcast. I've reassessed my own priorities, and they are what they are. I'm not going to discuss them here because that is something that should be private. But I will discuss the priorities I have for my podcast because I believe transparency is the king to good communication. And I do try to be as transparent as possible. Excuse me. I got about half a cup of coffee and I hope it lasts me. Um, my belly's just a tad bit upset today because I've gotten some news I didn't like, and I am dealing with it, but that's all right. I'm not going to burden you all with what I need. This is your podcast. This is here for you to be a help and encouragement for you, for me to give you support, encouragement, love, and give you a chance to give love to each other. So, I'm not going to talk about my problems here. We can talk about yours. We can, when we have open lines, we'll have two-way communication. And when we don't have the lines open, this is me talking to you, and most of the time I try to talk from my heart. Now that brings me to the priorities that I have for this podcast. We've been here now 4 or 5 months, maybe 6 months, and it's been a very nice road, and I'm having a lot of fun doing the podcast. And what we've been discussing is whole life issues. We've been discussing with no holds barred, no subject is taboo, and no rules except to be courteous and loving to each other. I believe I'm been upholding those rules, and I haven't had a troll yet, and I thank God for that. As you get to know me, you will find out that I am a man of faith. You'll also find out I have a heart for this country, for the United States. I love our beloved Union and our American traditions of liberty and prosperity. Now, ahead of Joe Biden's inauguration and after the counting of the electoral vote, the forces of evil that have been working on this country some maybe 20 years, 30 years, maybe longer. I've learned that it's gone back that far, but the thing is, I suspect it may have been longer than that. And I've heard people talk about the forces of evil coming against the country since the Great Depression. And as I'm doing my research into history, I'm finding writings from George Washington and Thomas Jefferson that express concern for the evil forces of their generation. George Washington expressed a grave concern about the British after the Revolutionary War wanting to come back and attack us again. And there is one letter that I've come across, and I viewed the transcript of it online. You know, the original being held at the National Archive. Um, that letter thanked God that the British haven't hasn't that the British have not come yet. But I assume all the way to his death, George Washington was very worried about England coming back across the sea and trying to finish what they started because they never officially surrendered. That's what I'm coming to find out. So technically, as far as our history is concerned, it's over and done with. But technically, as far as England is concerned, they are still at war with us. How can that be when they are an ally of ours? Let me leave you with that question and encourage you to go to the Society for Liberty and Prosperity on Facebook. There you will find a link to my other podcast, which is Podcast for Liberty. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to narrow the scope and transition. Podcast for Life is going to be for support and encouragement in life. No holds barred, and the only subject that is taboo is going to be politics. Now, for politics, if that's what you're looking for, if that's what you're looking for from me, let me encourage you. You can go to uh, Facebook, Society for Liberty and Prosperity. You can go to my YouTube channel, or you can go to uh, melon.com and put my name in there, Daniel Essick, and it'll take you over to my podcast over there. Now, this is about the most I'm going to say about Podcast for Liberty. I do not want the forces of evil to find Podcast for Liberty. I'm sure they probably found it already, but we haven't even started yet. Later on today, 7 o'clock tonight, will be our first episode. Let me invite all of you and encourage you all to join Podcast for Liberty. And let's continue with Podcast for Life and let that be the support and encouragement in getting through life. Despite the political climate, despite the forces of evil that are all around all of us, 24/7 that we will have to deal with Joe Biden being president. Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg is trying to silence conservative voices. He has taken many people down off of Facebook. He hasn't taken me down yet. And I'm hoping that this podcast will keep him from taking me down because I do want to be a support and encouragement to others. And I will be a support and encouragement to others on this podcast here. And my hope is to take the politics over there and leave it over there. It will survive because of Podcasts for Life and the will of God. I pray that we can make it through the next 4 years. Joe Biden gets inaugurated in 4 days, this Wednesday. That's all I'm going to say about that now. Tune in to Podcasts for Liberty to find out how I feel about that, to find out what I, for one, wish to do about that. And again, you can go to Facebook, go to our page for Society for Liberty and Prosperity, or you can go to HTTP : slash slash www society lp dot 8m dot net. And there will be a link to both Podcasts for Life and Podcasts for Liberty. If it's not there yet, it will be there. I'm going to check it today. But if it's not there yet, it will be by before 7 o'clock. And the link for Podcast for Liberty should be on the Society for Liberty and Prosperity Facebook page. And if it's not, I know on YouTube, on my YouTube page, there should be a link over there for Podcast for Liberty. I think the app that I'm using for Podcast for Liberty is probably going to be the better app to do all of my podcasting. So if I do make any changes here at Podcast for Life, I'll be sure to let y'all know and let y'all know far enough in advance so that you can prepare for the move. So, but in the meanwhile, we're going to leave it like this. I'm adding to my life Podcasts for Liberty. And if you want politics, you want to talk about politics, you want to express your views on politics, you need to express it over there. I'm instituting a rule here that if you start talking about politics other than how it's affecting you personally, I will refer you to Podcasts for Liberty and I will sit there and say, we will talk there. Or I will say, send me an email and I'll put my, and I'm thinking I'm going to put my email in the uh, description for Podcasts for Life. I'm not sure if y'all can send me messages. I know you can send me messages in the chat, but I'm not sure if you can send me messages outside of the chat. So, okay. Get Local wants me to paste a link on Facebook to share with friends. Well, I've already done that, and I'm not going to take the time while I'm broadcasting to do it. Get Vocal, let me suggest to you that that's a little late to be sharing the link to the podcast when you start the podcast. I don't have time to do that anymore. If I had a staff, yeah, they could probably do it, but and maybe if that's what it's there for, that's what it's there for. Therefore, it'll be there forever. Okay. I know I don't have much of a sense of humor. It is what it is, and I enjoy it. I try to enjoy it. And I think Kathy enjoys it. She does laugh at my jokes. Probably sitting there laughing right now. Okay, how are we doing for time? It is almost 4:30. Alrighty. Okay, at this point, I will open up. I already have them open. I'll open up for open lines. So if you care to, if you're on Get Vocal, you will see 3 boxes at the bottom of your screen or 2 boxes at the bottom of your screen and a box beside me. Just go ahead and click on one of those boxes. Any of these boxes that say grab this spot. You'll be in here and we'll sit and talk for a little bit. And as we're reassessing our priorities, I'll gladly help walk you through the process to see how it is. The only thing I ask is that you be polite and that you be mindful that we have absolutely no confidentiality on here because we're broadcasting to perhaps hundreds, maybe thousands of people. I can't quantify hundreds. Between Get Vocal, YouTube, and other places that I put it, Castbox. Okay, AJ, I don't have my microphone stuff set up at the moment. However, I appreciate the idea of three lists. Typically, I try to do all of my prioritizing on one page and get overwhelmed. Okay. AJ, that's a good way that you can communicate with me is through the chat. And I can understand how even just getting the list of what's important in life can be overwhelming. um, you can have, I recommend doing three lists. One list is the stuff that's important to me. Another list is what's important to others. But I know people that make additional lists, and you can do this any pretty much any way you want to do it. Um, you can do it. Uh, this issue is important to me. So, what do I need to do with that? What's most important to me in that? What order do I need to do things? When you're assessing your priorities, you have to be mindful that you are putting down priorities rather than tasks. Tasks are things that we have to do to, in order to do certain things. Like, I'm gonna give you an example. If I was working on the priorities for Podcast for Life, I would say I would prioritize prepare for the podcast. This is what I would put on my list. Prepare for the podcast. Invite guests. Be on time to be on the air. What you want to do is you want to do concepts. You don't want to do tasks. You want to stay away from the tasks. Now, within each of those concepts, you have the task to accomplish that concept. And when you're assessing your priorities, you need to work with the concepts. And that may be where you're feeling overwhelmed. Does that help? Okay. I'm glad. I'm glad it makes sense. I'm very happy about that. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Let us talk about a little bit about sponsorship of uh, my podcast. Through Get Vocal, you'll see at the top of your page a diamond with a V inside of it. Now, while you're in the podcast and on the air with me, you'll have that logo with a V in it. And what you can do is you can open that page and it will say support your favorite broadcasters with Bitcoin. Bitcoin gifts help creators earn cash for their content on Get Vocal. And then it prompts you to buy Bitcoins. You have a bar pack, which is 200 Bitcoins, $3.99. You have a club pack of 540 V coins for $9.99. You have a stage pack of 1,100 V coins for $19.99. You have a festival pack of 2,900 V coins for $49.99. You have an arena pack of 6,000 V coins for $99.99. And you have a stadium pack of 12,500 V coins for $19.99. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to tell you, I'm not going to sit here and say I need a certain amount or anything. I'm doing this love my heart. But I do have expenses and my wallet is rather thin. I would appreciate all the support I can get and be mindful when you're buying the V coins and to see if you're getting a good deal on them. What you can do is do the math to see what you're actually buying them for. Um, each V coin represents a penny to me. So they cost more. I'm sure they cost more than a penny. So don't be alarmed when you do the math and you find out that it is more than a penny. I don't know, maybe 2 cents, 3 cents, but it shouldn't be too much. But out of each V coin, I get a penny. Get Vocal makes money on the sale of V coins. That's how you support them. Now, without Get Vocal right now, Podcast for Life would not exist. So when you're supporting me, you're also supporting Get Vocal. And Get Vocal pays me a penny for each V coin. Now, generally, what I do is I let the V coins stay where they are and Get Vocal, and it pays for certain expenses. When I have outside expenses, and if I do have the V coin available, then I understand that each one is a penny. And what I will do is I will deposit a certain number of V coin into my bank account to cover that expense. I get no salary for doing what I do. I do what I do for the love of it. I do what I do, not for pay. But I would like some help in defraying some of these expenses. For my wallet is rather thin, and there are many demands upon my money as well as yours. Just like you have plenty of demands on your money, I do too. And my income is rather limited. I do believe I have a pretty good lifestyle for what I'm getting. I live in Kentucky. I live in southeastern Kentucky. I've found that things are a lot cheaper down here. And southeastern Kentucky still celebrates our liberty. And I'm urging the governor to help maintain our liberty. And I have sent him letters of encouragement. I've sent President Trump letters of encouragement. I have yet to be able to find Joe Biden's email. I'd like to congratulate him, but at this late date, I'm not even going to look anymore. If Joe Biden finds out about this podcast and views it today, well, Mr. President elect, let me congratulate you on winning the election. How you got there is open to debate, but we're not going to talk about that here. Um, the fact is that you're there. And let me support and encourage you And President-elect Joe Biden let me put a special invitation out to you, should you ever see this, that I would love to have you as a guest, either on Podcast for Life or on Podcast for Liberty. Soon after your inauguration, I'm going to be sending you an email with a formal invitation and congratulations. If you wish, you will have your say on my program. I know we're not going to see eye to eye on perhaps anything because there are very few things that you stand for that we can agree with. But I'm sure, given enough conversation, we can find a place of agreement somewhere, somehow, some way. But in the meanwhile, for the next 4 years, I will probably be one of the, I don't know if you call it the worst critic, I guess, because critic is a negative word. So, yeah, that would be, so being the worst would actually be a positive. So, yeah, I will be one of the worst critics of President Joe Biden after he is inaugurated for the next 4 years. And should he win re-election next 8 years, I'm not going to work on the next 8 years. I'm not working on anything for the next 8 years. I'm going to do good, just get through the 4 years. My planning is going to take me through the next year. I don't want to think too much past that because I don't know if God's going to have me here that long. Kathy hates when I talk like this, but the truth of the matter is, things happen. And I have no doubt in my mind that I will go from this life to God. Now, what that means is all up to debate. I haven't seen anybody come back from the dead, save one, and tell us about what comes next. And that one is Jesus Christ. He came back and told us of the Father, and he came back and taught us about himself, the Son in the Trinity. The Father's in heaven, the Son was here on earth, is now in heaven. And the Holy Spirit comes among us and communicates with us God's desire. The three in the one. Omnipresent. And I believe him to be the God of nature. I believe in him to be the creator that is spoken of in the Constitution. In my life, I've celebrated many faiths. In my life, I've learned much about the different denominations. I've been just about every Christian denomination known to the United States. And I've also learned about some non Christian faiths and denominations. And I've formulated my opinions on all of them. A man needs to have a basis to his life, a set of morals that he can hang his head on. And what the morals are, first of all, are truths. a man needs to believe in a core set of truths in order to get the most out of life. I see Kathy's out. Yeah, maybe she'll watch the rest of it later. Yeah, I'm going to miss her. AJ, thank you for sticking around. A man needs to have a core set of truths. And I think I'm going to do another podcast on morals on Podcast for Life. And hopefully, perhaps those that are the forces of evil that are among us will see that podcast and maybe they'll re-examine their morals. But what morals are a set of truths that you can hang your hat on. They're true no matter what. They are true when the rest of the world is on fire. And the thing is they are true for the believer. How we perceive the world and how we believe and how we come to a belief, I'm going to address those on future shows. With this show right now, I'm working 1 week at a time, and when I get caught up on some of my work, then I'll start scheduling a little further out. Unless, of course, I get a special guests, which I have some invitations out, both for uh, Podcasts for Life and Podcasts for Liberty. And what I'll do is I'll start scheduling out a little bit more. I'm going to set myself a goal for scheduling for about a month. And I'm going to take my time getting there, but I think we'll get there eventually. And then maybe when we get to that goal of scheduling out a month, maybe then I'll reset that goal for scheduling out for 3 months. We'll see how we can maintain that. Goals have to be achievable. And when you set goals, you have to be realistic. Now, AJ, I'm just giving you a preview on what I'm getting ready to talk about next. Well, maybe not next, but I'm going to schedule shows regarding these. Okay. You want to get back to priorities? Would you mind sharing what some of your priorities are? Set your priorities to reach them. No, you set your goals to reach. You set your goals to reach your goals. You set your priority to support your goals. Does that make sense? Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Would you care to share some of your priorities? And it's okay. You can sit there and say, not now. Okay. I'll honor that. Not sure. Priorities, goals, and oh, okay. Improve work activities. Okay. One, I believe I have done a podcast. Look in the past shows and see if there's something that says time management. And if you don't see it there, then what I'll do is I'll see about if I can do a podcast on time management, and maybe we can work on that a little bit. Okay, so it is quarter till 5, and I believe we started at 5 at 4:01, didn't we not? Okay. How are you feeling today, AJ? Good. Are you at peace? Mostly. Good. Good. I hope to find you back very soon. We're on every week at 4 o'clock, and I'm not stopping Podcast for Life anytime soon. I enjoy it too much. And I'm glad that you've been in the audience today. And I appreciate all my audience. And those of you who are viewing later on my or listening later on my other venues, I thank you too and urge you to support whatever platform you heard me on. You're interested to look at some of the previous podcasts. Yeah, as soon as we get done, you're welcome to do that. Spend as much time on the show site as you want, and all the every show going back all the way to the first show is in the archive. When you go to the show page, it will sit there and say upcoming uh, episodes, and then it'll have next to that, it'll have uh, previous episodes. Click on that, and then it'll show all the previous episodes. Okay. You're welcome. You're very much welcome, AJ. And I thank you for being here. And I look forward to you returning. And we are about 10 minutes early. And I think we've covered just about everything we can. Are there any more questions that you have? Okay. And ladies and gentlemen, let me send you this message of encouragement, understanding, and love. We need to love each other. We need to be here for each other. With President Joe Biden's inauguration just 4 days away, we need to all make the proper changes. We are all seeing the forces of evil rise up against the patriots and people who love this country. We have seen that the forces of evil wish to silence many of our voices, and it must not be allowed to stand. Ladies and gentlemen, as we meet each other, let us try to meet each other where we're at, where they're at, and come to agreements. And let's celebrate our similarities. And let's not criticize our differences, but we can celebrate our differences as well. And where the differences come between us, let us try to heal and try to have good language and try to be kind to one another, to love one another, to be with each other. Let's lift others up and bring them up to where we are, or even lift them higher. Let us all set a goal for every person that we meet this week that we say hello and have a good word for them. An example of that could be, hello, I like you. Or, hello, I do hope you're okay. And you never know, some of those may spark a conversation. Let's try it this week, and then we'll touch base next week. Saturday, at 4 o'clock. My name is Daniel Essick, and this is Podcast for Life. Thank you.